Okay, so here's where we're at with the project. We have the body completed, more or less. I've come along and drilled out the holes for the truss rods underneath and the handrails on the sides. And I will need to go about bending those and installing them. That shouldn't be too big of a deal. Then the next thing is we need to color the inside because while gray is a nice neutral color, it doesn't exactly mimic the look of wood. So I'll need to go ahead, color the inside, and then work on installing the seats that, oops, were stained in the last video. Now for the seating arrangement, what I've decided is I'm going to put the benches in effectively, it's kind of hard to show here, but I figured out I can put them in a U shape, and with that U shape, I can keep one side for people, the other side just for general cargo, and I might put the spare bench on one side over there, just so, say we've got a conductor's seat or a jump seat or something like that. Nothing super fancy. Obviously, this is not first class. This would probably be more like, as Jeremy Clarkson put it, scum class on the Top Gear Railway. But you know what? This is pretty much hop on, hop off transport for the people, and that's all they need. It beats walking to your job. So let's go ahead and get busy on all of that, and then we'll come back and touch base on things. Okay, so here's where I'm going to call the video at this point. I've got the roof installed. I got the seats inside as well. And it's a little bit hard to see, but I have it set up so that there's one short bench on this side, and then I have the benches in pretty much like a U shape in there. And yeah, seating's going to be a little bit tight, but as I said, this is not a first class ride. This is pretty much just a quickie jump on, jump off kind of thing. And you know what? It beats walking. So what I did is I came along and I cut out a piece of that laser board material that I really like. Just found I could cut it with a paper cutter over at work. It actually cut really well. I was very impressed with that. Just cut that out very quickly in the rough shape of a roof. It's not perfect, but I like it that way. This is a narrow gauge train, and obviously things are just put together to get the job done. Then I just came along with some, I don't even know where I picked it up from. It might have been from like scrap in San Francisco or something a long time ago. It's some home front decorator color satin finish black. It's just one of these little cheapy squeeze tubes of black paint. And given the texture that's already in the laser board and the fact that you're going to get some brush strokes in there as well because I use this straight, it looks really good for a tar paper roof-like effect, and that's kind of what I was after. I did come along and I did color everything with the rust and the light gray Hunterline. I will say that because this is an alcohol-based stain, I found that the rust, which is kind of a reddish color, actually I was having some problems actually with the various colors that make that effectively bleeding out into the filler primer. So I think in the future, I don't think I will use the rust. I think I'll just use straight India ink as I did in a previous video. That's not to say by any means that Hunterline products are bad. It's just in this application, I think the alcohol is kind of interfering with the filler primer and it's not exactly working. Now, for certain things, it looks fine. And it really all depends upon the application, but I wasn't 100% thrilled with it. The light gray, on the other hand, worked perfectly, as always, to really get into those nooks and crannies. I just kind of slop it on there kind of quickly and just let it find its own level. The alcohol evaporates and it really accentuates things. So also we got the handrails installed. I ended up putting on some couplers that I found in my parts bin. I still need to get some trucks for this thing, which are the little wheel sets. I have those on order from Tichy Train Group, but I do not think those are going to show up in time for the video, so they're going to make an appearance later on. I definitely want to do a video, though, about adding some figures to this, because I need to research who makes some good quality, affordably priced figures. I found some cheap ones in this baggie here, and they weren't even up to snuff for writing inside here. I was like, you know what, this is a nice enough model that I want to put some good quality figures in here. And I also want to find some sacks and or boxes or things that could be riding inside the baggage area of here that kind of makes some sense. So overall, I have to say, I'm actually really impressed with how this turned out. A long time ago, and I'm talking a long time ago, I tried working with resin kits and I didn't exactly know what I was doing. I didn't have the best of results. This definitely, I learned a lot in the process. There's some things that I'm going to do differently on an upcoming resin kit build. Also a Boulder Valley Models kit that I traded a ON30 Facebook group member for, and things that I learned there here, I mean, definitely are going to come in handy over there. One thing I will say is, as much as I love super glue, don't use the super thin stuff to hold something like this together. Make sure that you're using something that's a lot thicker, buys you more time, and it's not just going to run everywhere like crazy. I spy a trip to Hobby Lobby in my near future for that. Another thing that's really helpful is kicker, and in this case, I use the Bob Smith Industries kicker. I believe it's the same brand of super glue. You can find it pretty much any online or in-person retailer. There's also other brands of it. What I did is I actually decided to put some inside this tiny little squeeze ball that I picked up at Tap Plastics a long time ago. And it's nice because I can just dribble out a really tiny amount where it's needed, and I don't get as loopy headed off of it. Now, one other thing that you'll say, but Calvin, you never installed it, is the little steps to get inside. I'm well aware I didn't install those. I'm still 50-50 on if I want to use those or not, or kind of come up with my own. I still haven't figured that out, but until I get some trucks on this thing, those things are just going to break off anyway, so there's no point in doing that. One other thing that I did do is I came along with a couple of my weathering powders. I believe I used the dirty brown and the gritty yellow, and just went around the outside of this just to add some extra color and some extra visual texture, and it turned out superb. I'm not exaggerating. I'm really impressed with how it turned out. These things are definitely messy. Oh, same with the Hunterline as well, which is why I work on these puppy training pads that I get over at the dollar store. That pretty much deserves its own video as to why they're so great. But it's a little bit of mess, but the end result really takes things up to 11. This is in a desert environment. You're going to have dust kicked up, all that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this build. Obviously, as I said, in the future, we're going to be doing some adding some details to it, hopefully running it around on somebody's layout. We'll figure it out, whose it is. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you here next time on Make It with Calvin.